Want to welcome everybody into the 2023 National Western Stock Show's Junior Purebred Simmental Show. In the ring at this time, we have Class 101 of Purebred Simmental Heifers, born March through June of 2022. We have entry 1828 from Chloe Boitnott and entry 1829 from Mabry Schick.
Really nice pair of June females to lead our Junior Simmental show. And the Baldy female, I think there's a difference in how she hooks up there right behind her shoulder into her forerib, and she transitions back, and just a bit more boldness there. She gets out and travels, really soft in her structure, absolutely very attractive. Black female is just a bit more elongated in her pasture, or in her cannon, a little longer growing type female, a bit tighter in her forerib. Appreciate the extension, appreciate the boldness of hip to that female. Nice pair of females. We just opted to use one that had a bit more forerib to her.
Your results from Class 101 of Purebred Simmentals. In second place, entry 1828, Chloe Boitnott. And your class winner, entry 1829, Mabry Schick. Set to enter the ring at this time will be Class 101B of Heifers born May of 2022. We have 3 total entries. Entry 1834 from Aaron Rexroad, entry 1835 from Bristol Girds, and entry 1836 from Brianna Hicks. At this time, we will introduce our judges. We have a dynamic duo for our judges. We have Jeremy Viator from Lazy 3 Ranch in Tumble, Texas. And we have Matt Skasta from Buck Cattle Company. He is the herdsman in Medill, Oklahoma. These two have been judging on and off for about 35 years together. And the running joke is Matt was picked up on the side of the road.
Young man comes around with this solid black heifer to lead the class, and just a really nice cow prospect. Love the boldness to that female in terms of rib shape and in the upper hip. She gets out and probably steps and strides a little longer and more comfortably out of her knee and her front foot. Really nice in terms of her hock and pastern in terms of flex there. You know, the heifer that stands in seconds, perhaps a bit leaner at this point. You could call her the longer-sided female. She's just a touch nicer in terms of her head, neck, and throat. When we get that female out on the go, her front feet just don't square up quite as nice, doesn't quite have the flex out of that hind leg as we see in our class winner, but still very attractive, very nicely presented female. Young lady's done a nice job with her. The baldy female.
Heads up with the gates.
Baldy female we're going to conclude with. In terms of skeletal extension and skeletal reach, she's the one that's a bit more conservative and just a bit more upright and stilty. Still has enough rib shape and body to compete with these two, but it's overall movement in terms of hesitantness there, in terms of just flex out of her pastern, flex and angulation to her shoulder that doesn't allow her to move higher. Congratulations, nice trio of cattle.
Let's give a round of applause real quick for entry 1835, Bristol Girds. It's not easy holding on to an animal of that size. And don't worry, it happens to everybody. So your results from Class B of 101: in third place, 1835, Bristol Girds. In second place, entry 1836, Brianna Hicks. And your class winner, entry 1834, Aaron Rexroad. Set to enter the ring at this time will be your Class C from 101, and that has entries 1838, Alex Verplug, entry 1839, Jamie Gitlin, entry 1840, Samantha Steinbraun, and entry 1841, Bryce Leifers. These are heifers born of April 2022.
Another really complete female to win this class, and just when you begin to analyze her in terms of a combination of traits from rib and muscle and still having some extension, she really just excels in the class in terms of just putting all those pieces together, checking the boxes. Probably is a bit more agile on the move, as how I would describe her when she gets out and goes. And then there's some discussion as we come into these next couple of cattle. The Baldy here is one that's real attractive in terms of her build and strength at top, and you like how the neck comes out of her shoulder. With that said, you read her shoulder angle. She's a bit more forward in the slope to her shoulder and at her knee. When she gets out and goes off of her hind legs, she's just a bit more rigid out of her pastern, not quite as comfortable as our class winner, but still a high quality, really neat female. Big, bold, structured female. That's one that has some shape and power in the red and white one. You like that power. You like what you see in terms of foot size and shape. She's a little coarser and plainer about her head, pushes her chest forward some as she bulks up, maybe not going to be as attractive, but yet I think when you watch her go, there's a bit more softness to her structure, a bit more angle to her shoulder. And then we conclude with one that as you watch this one, there's some shape and some power to that female. With that added power, she's a little rounder in her hip. You look at her in her pastern, she's quite a bit more upright and rigid, doesn't plant as squarely and is just quite as attractively on her front feet at the ground. So nice group of cattle from top to bottom. Congratulations to all four of those young people.
Your results from Class 101C: in fourth place, entry 1838, Alex Verplug. In third place, entry 1839, Jamie Gitlin. In second place, entry 1840, Samantha Steinbraun. And your class winner, entry 1841, Bryce Liefers. For those of you following along in the program, that goes 4, 3, 2, 1 in your class. In the ring at this time is Class 101D. These are heifers born March of 2022. We have entries 1843, Chloe Boitnott, 1844, Abriella Benz, entry 1845, Mason Allen, 1846, Jason Diaz, 1847, Morgan Jackson, 1851, Tatum Dorsey, entry 1852, Lauren Trauernicht, and entry 1853, Cheyenne Bennett. Once more, in the ring is your 2023 National Western Stock Show's Junior Purebred Simmental Show. There are a lot of people that make this particular show possible, and we want to highlight some of the board of directors. Our VP, Jolynn Midcap, our director, Susan Russell. We have some ASA directors as well, Luke Bowman, Mia Bayer, Chance Uzadowski, I'm guessing on that one. We also have some ringside help that are Some of your Junior Association Board of Trustees we have from the North Central region, Jaslyn Hilbrands. From the Western region, we have Blake Fabricius and Jonna McAuliffe.
we certainly crank the heat up in this class and make Matt and I kind of get down to some really small details. But the female that wins this class from a freshness standpoint is ultra good, and you read her from just a juvenile look in a spring heifer calf, and you really like that about that female. The difference in these two cattle and getting really neat, just detailed, is that it's in their shoulder design and how their shoulder hooks into their forerib. Young man's female is a bit flatter in her shoulder, and still when you read that heifer in her top right behind her shoulder, she's really wide there and still explosive out of the top of her hip, whereas the young lady's female, she's one that you appreciate from a bulk and mass standpoint. From a side profile, you get right on top of her and you can see that she's a bit more concave right behind her shoulder, and she's a bit bolder in her shoulder, just moves with more shoulder bulk and mass, and that's getting ultra critical on two really nice females. The female in second, she has a Cavanese advantage out of this trio, if I remember right, and all three of the females I think have enough growth and are comparable. But then when you look at the cattle at the ground, the young lady's female here in third in a comparative manner. Our female that wins the class is a bit squarer on her front feet, particularly her right front foot sets down squarer and truer, a little bit fresher female. When you compare those two, young lady's female going out third is just a hair lower pin, but again a really high quality, good kind of a female. One that's going to be a bit more elevated in terms of growth and scale from a phenotypic standpoint stands here, and you appreciate that female in terms of bone and foot and hip. When you look at her and you just can start to compare her at the ground, she wants to just not be as square at the ground on her front feet, a bit bolder and coarser in terms of her type and head. Again, one that's going to be a touch bigger as well. Come around with the next three cattle, we begin to get into some cattle that don't balance up as well. They're not as nice in terms of how they set their foot to the ground. This female is one that's a little plainer in terms of her front end, doesn't have as much midsection, maybe not as much hair compared to those others, not as much mid rib, but still bold and expressive in her top, just not quite as doesn't check all the bells and whistles maybe as some of those ones in front of her. Red heifer, you love her when she stops. She gets up in her spine ever so slightly. Want to just relax her in her spine. You get to having to make some hard decisions. Young lady's female comes around here really fresh and attractive, very long and flat necked. You get her on the go and she's one that's a bit more upright in her shoulder. She drops her pins and isn't as authoritative, I'd say, in terms of how she handles her hind leg. Young man's female is very functional in terms of rib and body. You get to her hind leg, she's a little plainer in terms of how she wants to hawk in, and just doesn't get out and flex in her pastern as attractively as some of those others above her.
Your results from Class 101D: in 8th place, 1846, Jason Diaz. In 7th place, 1851, Tatum Dorsey. In 6th place, 1852, Lauren Trauernicht. In 5th place, Bella Benz. 4th place, 1843, Chloe Boitnott. 3rd place, 1847, Morgan Jackson. 2nd place, 1853, Cheyenne Bennett. And your class winner, entry 1845, Mason Allen. For those of you following along in the programs, it goes 4, 5, 1, 8, 3, 7, 6, 2. At this time, we will bring back our class winners from 101A, B, C, and D to select your champion spring heifer calves.
You know, you said I picked him up on the side of the road. Well, I forgot this argument that he and I have been having about how much he's going to talk. Okay, so I'm going to win before the day's over. Y'all are going to hear from Matt. Okay, I have a bet with his son, or a promise with his son, that he's going to describe some cattle out here. So let's put our hands together for our first division here in the junior show. Exceptional quality. Really fun to evaluate. And I said to Matt, I said usually it's really easy for things to flow for me and describe the cattle, and it's a bit more challenging when you get to this level of detail. Just a few quick highlights. Female, the heifer calf that wins that first class, you know, super attractive and really fresh and kind of a neat look. She pushes the limits for both Matt and I both on having how much flex and that she has and where she sits, the weight on the back of her heel. You get into some real world country and that might even be a little excessive, and you just have to decide what's acceptable for you. Young man's female that wins the second class, tremendous cow prospect. Love her rib shape and her body, and just one that goes out and keeps you in the business, kind of a female. She's a bit juicy in terms of condition, and it shows up in her jowl and through the lower part of her neck. Makes her look just a hair shorter neck, but boy, I think you lean that female up before you go for the summer run, and she's going to be really fun. Big, stout, featured female stands here to win the third class, and you like that female in terms of boldness or rib and how she sets her foot at the ground. She's just a little lower in her pin set relative to the two females on either side of her, but tremendous in terms of checking a lot of boxes and very appropriate in terms of her foot shape and design. Ultra fresh female stands here winning the fourth class, and when you ask yourself which one of the cattle can get out and go and still have a girl look to them, really big hipped, and you like the slopes and angles, the combination of traits, she's the one that puts the most together for Matt and I. She's going to win the division. Congratulations to that young man.
Your champion spring heifer calf comes from Class 101D, and that is entry 1845 Mason Allen. Rolling into consideration for reserve will be the second place from Class 101D, and that is entry 1853 Cheyenne Bennett.
Young lady's female that comes in for second as we compare her to the one right in front of her. That's probably our other contender. She's a touch higher pinned and really fresh. She gives up just a touch of forerib, but that's because you see that she's pretty lean. We think that those two fit really well together, so we're going to keep that second place together. She'll be our reserve division with our previous one.
Your reserve champion spring heifer calf also comes from Class 101D, and that is entry 1853 Cheyenne Bennett. Set to enter the ring at this time will be Class 102 of purebred Simmental heifers born January through February of 2022. We have entries 1857 from Easton Hill, 1858 from Anna Taylor, 1863 from Keegan Bailey, 1864 from Morgan Jackson, 1865 from Maggie Griswold, 1866 from Brody Wennell, and 1868 from Brady Edge. The first and seconds from Class 102 will become your champion and reserve champion junior heifer calves.
A lot of phenotypic variation in this class, and the young lady's Baldy that wins the class. And you'll hear Matt and I talk about freshness very consistently, and I think her combination of leanness at this point in maturity, but still having the ability to go out and be a cow that can have some forage ability to her. She's so sound and so attractive, and just the combination of structure, balance, muscle, freshness, I think she wins the class for us. And then after that, there's some discussion as to what we do and where we go. The next female, in terms of when you kick them out in your mind, in terms of the one that's a cow, in terms of rib and body and bone, and just holds together in terms of mass, stands here in second. Now, she does have a touch more flesh than the female that stands in front of her, and you can lean her up some, but I don't think that's a big negative in her or disadvantage, because I think she's still, in terms of length, in terms of flatness to shoulder, keeping her chest floor in, she does that really well. She's tremendously big bone, big footed, gets out and travels really well, and I think she just kind of becomes the logical second place relative to that really fresh, ultra cool one that wins the class. Third place female fits really well with that one right in front of her. She's made a lot like her in terms of her head, neck, and shoulder. Doesn't quite have as much extension, but you could say that she's really, really complete. We love her foot and her bone in terms of the power. Those are two females that you kick them out, you go back and you look at them after they calve, and they're going to still maintain that type of power and rib shape. And her advantage is that she's a little higher pinned than this next one. I think there's more true muscle read. There's certainly more foot and bone. Young ladies having one that's just not as cooperative today. I appreciate the extension of that female. When she gets out and goes, you can see she's a little lower pinned, still very sound, gets out and travels very well. She just runs into two really big-footed, stout beasts in front of her. Then we come into one from a balance standpoint. It has more roundness to her shoulder. She tends to break right behind her shoulder. Doesn't assimilate the pieces and parts together. Appreciate the added length of hip and added length of front. Young man's female gives up some in terms of growth from a genetics prediction standpoint, and you can see that when you look at her. She's a shorter cannon female, one that's, as she gets out and travels, doesn't set out in terms of reach off of her hind leg like we'd like to see. It starts up in her hip, and that she's shorter in terms of her hip and shorter strided. And we conclude the class with one that's very basic in terms of big-bodied, really sharp and attractive through her front end. Gives up too much performance relative to these others in the class, but still a cow prospect for the young lady that can go out and do a nice job for her. Congratulations. That was a fun class and had some challenges up top to sort through.
Your results from Class 102 of Purebred Simmental Heifers: in 7th place, entry 1858, Anna Taylor. 6th place, entry 1857, Easton Hill. 5th place, 1863, Keegan Bailey. 4th place, 1864, Morgan Jackson. 3rd place, 1866, Brody Winnell. 2nd place, and your reserve champion junior heifer calf goes to 1868, Brady Edge. And your class winner and your champion junior heifer calf goes to entry 1865, Maggie Griswold. In the ring at this time will be Class 103 of Purebred Simmental Heifers born September through December of 2021. We have 3 entries: 1872 from Conley Schick, 1874 from Lizzie Schaefer, and entry 1877 from Addison Owensby. Your first and seconds within this class will become your champion and reserve champion winter heifer calves. And once again, for those following along in the program, your Class 102 went 6-7-5-4-1-3-2.
I think Matt described our class winner as a junior national special, and I think that's a great description. Because, boy, if you had one that you wanted to just be thinking about going next summer and still maintaining some freshness to her front end and her chest floor setting in right, she does that really, really well. She combines that with just a incredible presence as she shows off here. You set her in motion, you read the slopes and the angles, the give to her structure is right. She wins the class hands down. That freshness and that added leanness is her advantage over our second place female. And you like this big burly female here in second. She gets out and goes and probably just has a bit more reach off of her hind leg than the one that stands right behind her. And yes, you could change this female. She carries a touch of condition in her chest floor. She's not perfect in her hind foot design. You could flatten those hind feet. But boy, when you look at her from just a roundness to her rib and boldness to her rib, she has the advantage there, and as well as getting out and covering her track more appropriately. The baldy female we conclude with, long spine, attractive when she stops. When she gets out and goes, you can see she's a bit shorter stride, and it starts up in her upper spine, mid-spine. Then she's just tighter up there in her hip. Doesn't get out and place her hind leg as nicely as she needs to.
Your results from Class 103 of Purebred Simmental Heifers. In third place, entry 1874, Lizzie Schaefer. In second place, and your reserve champion winter heifer calf goes to entry 1877, Addison Owensby. And your class winner and your champion winter heifer calf goes to entry 1872, Conley Schick. In the ring at this time will be Class 104 of Purebred Simmental Heifers. We have the lone entry, 1879 from Callie Heaton, and this is August 10th of 2021 heifer.
Young lady's female. From a phenotypic standpoint, there's some things that you appreciate about her, and in terms of just balance and eye appeal, she's very nice there. Strength at top. You kick her out and you think, you know, she's kind of keep you in the business, kind of the female. She's sound enough. We could change her just a touch on paper. She's one that gets into the bottom percentiles and multiple traits. We could probably just push her up a touch there. I'm sure there's some mating opportunities when you have this kind of balance and phenotype. You can get that heifer mated right. She's going to be really nice for the young lady. Congratulations.
Our judge, Matt Scasta, that was your chance to do your reasons. That was a very, very simple class for you to do reasons. Surprised you didn't volunteer for that one. Class 104 results. In first place, entry 1879 from Callie Heaton. Up next will be Class 104B. We have 3 entries for the heifers born May of 2021. We have entry 1881, Addison Bartlow, entry 1883, Lauren Trauernicht, and entry 1884, Maggie Griswold.
easy class winner in the young ladies Baldy Cow Prospect, and I think you run her the top and just talk about cow power and upper hip width, and you kick her out in the pasture and she comes back after she calves and she still looks phenomenal, and we're just going to leave that at that. After that, it gets into, we have a challenging pair. You can talk some differences here. Female that stands here in second is bigger bodied than and just bigger in terms of her midsection and upper hip. She'd like to tuck her chest floor in just a touch. She wants to open up in her front end because she has that added condition, but still, and it just, I think she balances up a touch better in terms of strength at top. There's some give and take in this pair. This female, obviously she's heavy bred, being a May, we're pushing the envelope there, a little weaker in her loin, but she's got a big old calf pushing in her, gets a touch shorter sided, not quite as much forerib in terms of just openness right behind her shoulder. That's a tight pair. Good class winner there at the upper end there. She's one that's pretty special at the top.
Your results from Class 104B: in third place, entry 1883 from Lauren Trauernicht. In second place, entry 1881, Addison Bartlow. And your class winner, entry 1884, Maggie Griswold. At this time, we will bring back our class winners from 104A and 104B to select your champion and reserve intermediate heifers.
That wins this last class in terms of just how she keeps so much mass and bulk together and still keeps the parts in a tight package and squareness and strength, the quality that we see in that female. Young lady with the green shirt, you're going to win our division. Congratulations. She's Matt and I's kind really, really well. After that, you have a female that probably tucks her chest floor in just a little bit in the first class winner comparative to one that's probably has a few more numeric advantages and is bolder bodied. We're going to use a female that was second to be reserved. Congratulations to that young lady.
Your champion intermediate heifer comes from Class 104B, and that is entry 1884, Maggie Griswold. Your reserve champion intermediate heifer also comes from Class 104B, and that is entry 1881, Addison Bartlow. Set to enter the ring at this time will be Class 105 of purebred Simmental heifers born January through April of 2021. In the first class, we have entry 1887 from Easton Hill, 1890 from Pepper Elmore, 1891 from Leah Evans, 1893 from Morgan Jackson, 1894 from Lear Hansen, and entry 1895 from McKenna Richardson.
What an incredible class, and it challenged Matt and I a lot in terms of just talking back and forth and volleying back and forth and what we see in the cattle. And I think, you know, this is one of those classes where I'd like to take them home, calve them, and come back in a couple months and then tell you which one really surfaced to the top, because this is an incredible set of females top to bottom, and you as breeders should be really, really proud. The female that we went ahead and used, Matt talked about her in terms of just true muscle shape and read, and I agree with him. And you set that female in motion, she's really good as she gets out and travels. There's a difference in their shoulder and how it sets into their skeleton when you look at them from right in the front, and then you combine this with a disadvantage to our second place female in terms of calf and ease. I think there becomes some pieces that are logical here. Our class winner, we'd like to tuck her chest floor in some, just lean her up just a hair there in her chest floor, but in terms of cow rib and shape and just getting out and going, smoothness, muscularity, she hits the mark, and a tough decision there. Bigger scaled female here in second. She's one, as I said, has a calf and ease disadvantage, but boy, if you like one that's wide barreled, going to be a really pretty uddered female, big square hip in her. There's lots of quality and lots of things we really like. She is a touch more appropriate in her chest floor. Next female comes around and is long-sided as our two females that stand right there in front of her. There's not as much mass and expansion to this female when you read her from her chest floor all the way back to her stifle. There's not as much dimension to this female comparative to the two right in front of her. Some of that is that she's not quite as far along in calf when you read her relative to her udder and what she's showing us here. From a balance standpoint, the strength and top, just the slope and the angles of this female are really, really well. I like them really, really well. I just think she gets outmassed. And then a female that we come up with, she gives up some growth on paper, but you look at this female and you read her from a cow standpoint. We've talked about mass and dimension. She probably, if you read her from rib to rib across her body, there's more midsection in that female relative to the one right in front of her, but we set them in motion. The one right in front of her had an advantage in terms of her pastern, how she gets out and flexes out of her hind leg. I love the maternal build and rib shape of that one. Just got to have remove a little easier. Next female, again, is one that gets outmassed relative to the one right in front of her. Gets a little plainer in the set and curvature to her hind leg. She sets further underneath herself. She'll stay sound forever. Just want to give her a bit more drive and attractiveness to that hind leg. And then another really big barreled female that's putting down a beautiful udder in terms of teat squareness and just the design to her udder. You read her through her front 1/3, there's a bit more burliness and bulkiness to her head and neck. Want to lean her up in her chest floor. Love the power of that female. Again, another one that could just reach out a hair better. It just starts up in her hip with that restriction. Give her a bit more reach out for her hind leg. Incredible class. Let's put our hands together, top to bottom. That one was really challenging to sort, but yet a lot of fun.
Your results from Class 105A of Purebred Simmental Heifers: in 6th place, entry 1894, Lear Hansen. 5th place, 1891, Leah Evans. In 4th place, entry 1887, Easton Hill. 3rd place, entry 1893, Morgan Jackson. In 2nd place, entry 1895, McKenna Richardson. And your class winner, entry 1890, Pepper Elmore. At this time, we will bring in Class 105B of Heifers born in February of 2021. We have 2 entries, in entry 1899 from Shale Roberts and entry 1901 from Jason Diaz.
we'll place these two females as they came in. Young man's female that wins a class from an attractiveness standpoint, she has an advantage, and you read that female as she gets out and goes. Love how she hits the ground in terms of just softness there. She's one that's wide pin, maternal built. Female that stands here in second in terms of just mass and power. There's a lot of brute there, but with that, she becomes unattractive or just not as attractive through her front 1/3. We could just see that female a bit nicer in terms of depth of neck from the top of her neck to the base of her neck. But boy, she's big top, really expressive in terms of muscle shape. Young man's going to have a power cow there.
Your results from Class 105B. In second place, entry 1901, Jason Diaz. And your class winner, entry 1899, Shale Roberts. At this time, we will bring back our first and seconds from Class 105A and 105B to select your champion junior heifers.
You know, when I think about Simmental females, this is what I think about in terms of just hip width and mass and brood cow. And I really, really like this division because it's representative of your breed and what we expect. There's some subtle differences in the females as they get out and travel. And there's a pair of females that Matt and I are really in agreement with in terms of how loose they are in their spine, how they get out here and go. We're going to keep the pair from that first class together. Two young ladies are going to be champion and reserve. Congratulations to them.
Your champion junior heifer is your first place winner from Class 105A, and that is entry 1890, Pepper Elmore. Your reserve champion junior heifer also comes from Class 105A, and that is entry 1895, McKenna Richardson. At this time, we will bring back all of our division winners to select your grand champion purebred heifer. So once again, in the ring at this time is our division winners for the selection of the Grand Champion Purebred Heifers. Within your champions, we have your Champion Spring Heifer Calf, that is entry 1845 from Mason Allen. Your Champion Junior Heifer Calf, entry 1865, Maggie Griswold. Your Champion Winter Heifer Calf is entry 1872, Conley Schick. Your Champion Intermediate Heifer is entry 1884, Maggie Griswold. And your Champion Junior Heifer, entry 1890, Pepper Elmore. Once again, our judges are Jeremy Viator and Matt Scasta. And Matt will talk as soon as he gets the microphone turned on.
Well, if that gives you any indication of how much I talk, I can even turn the microphone on. But what an impressive set of heifers we have in front of us. You know, we went on functional and durability and the maternal traits. You know, we tried to keep them fresh with the bone work and structure. You know, I've known Jeremy a long time, and that's one thing that she has really preached to me and been very adamant about is the structure, and we tried to stay true to that. We're very proud of the lineup we have in front of us. So there's some really good reserve divisions on the other side of us. But on top of that, just look at everyone here in Denver. Denver's back. You know, this last weekend in the yards, the morale and you know, the people walking around, and you could just feel that it's building. And I want to give it to the National Western for that. And with that, yeah, everybody put your hands together. It's going to get better and better. And what an incredible opportunity it is to be standing here in this Coliseum where there's been so many great cattle and exhibitors and breeders. And, you know, I'm not even going to turn around because I know a lot of people standing behind me. And if they know me, they know we did it the way we want to. And Jeremy, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this, and the Simmental Association for putting this great set of cattle together. Thank you.
Once again, your grand champion purebred heifer in your junior Simmental show, entry 1884, Maggie Griswold. And your reserve champion purebred heifer goes to entry 1872, Conley Schick. At this time, we have paused for pictures with our champions and our judges. Once that has concluded, we will begin our junior percentage Simmental show. All right, the 2023 National Western Stock Show's Junior Percentage Simmental Show is now underway. And in the ring at this time is Class 201 Percentage Simmental Heifers, born March through June of 2022. We have the lone entry 1908 from Bella Bynes.
June heifer calf that's extra extended up their front and then long spined, one that you appreciate just for the look and balance. Maybe a tiny bit up in her middle of her spine. You want to soften her just ever so slightly there, but still, even with that, as she gets out and goes, still hits her tracks nice enough. Be a competitive female in her division.
Your results from Class 201A, that is first place, entry 1908, Bella Bynes. Set to enter the ring at this time will be Class 201B of heifers born in May of 2022. We have entries 1909 from Callie Heaton and entry 1910 from Bella Bynes.
Two heifer calves that are really opposite in terms of their maturity and condition at this point. Young lady's black female. From a design standpoint, you love the silhouette, you like the balance, the extension you see in that female. We certainly want to pull her apart, but I think as a young heifer calf, I don't mind that at this point, in that she just needs some maturity to her skeleton, and I think that'll come with time. When you read her in terms of reach and flexibility, she's correct. Female that stands there in second has a decided Cavanese advantage of the two females. She's really soft and cowy and round in her rib shape. She's one that's further along in terms of condition, not as attractive up through her front 1/3. If we continue to push in that female, I think she's probably going to get a bit bulkier there. Real cowy and more forage efficient type female, a little more base width.
Your results from Class 201B in second place, entry 1909 from Callie Heaton. And your class winner, entry 1910 from Bella Bynes. In the ring at this time will be Class 201C. We have entries 1920 from Colby Bailey, entry 1921 from Braden Buckwald, entry 1923 from James Yardley, and entry 1925 from Lizzie Schaefer. These are heifers born of March 2022.
you guys can read on paper like we can. And there's some birth weight challenges in this class, and there's some phenotype differences. There's some maturity differences in these cattle. And yeah, we're going to use the female that's the big, stout, powerful one in this class, and it's not because of her performance. I think when you get out and watch her go and you read her in terms of slope to her shoulder and read her in terms of just the front end design long term, there's some things there that you like. With that said, she pushes the envelope for maturity in scale at this point, but I think she's kind of a logical female. The one that you really like for being very juvenile in her condition and read about her head stands here in second, but when you look at that female in terms of slope to shoulder and length of neck, you want to just give her a touch more extension. She's one that's a little just plainer headed, I'd say, maybe deeper jawed, and it takes away from her attractiveness. But boy, she's long spine, big loin, one that you love in terms of just where she is condition wise, gets out and tracks on her hind leg really well, and that's one of the advantages that she has over this next female. The balance is in that second female is much better when you read her in terms of just how she holds and assembles the pieces and parts. This female in third's a bit straighter at her knee. She's further forward there. Want to lay that shoulder blade back. She's one that she gets out and goes just a touch stiltier relative to those two right in front of her. And then we conclude with one that doesn't have as much body width in terms of shape to her lower body. You want to pull her apart at her stifle, give her a touch more just dimension. You read her in terms of strength of spine, rib shape, those things. She's nice fronted female.
Your results from Class 201C. In fourth place, entry 1923, James Yardley. In third place, entry 1920, Colby Bailey. In second place, entry 1921, Braden Buckwald. And your class winner, entry 1925, Lizzie Schaefer. At this time, we will bring back our class winners from Class 201A, B, and C to select your champion spring heifer calves.
Folks, let's put our hands together. This first division, in terms of variation and variability, I think there's quite a bit more variability in these cattle in terms of both structure and true muscle read and where they are from a condition standpoint. And that's what Matt and I were talking about, is just future looking at the cattle from a structure standpoint and rib standpoint. We land on the female that wins the oldest class to win this division. So congratulations, the young lady in the pink sweater. She's going to win our division today. After that, as we talked about, there becomes some differences in rib shape, and you look at those females and you think about them down the road, and you study them from a skeletal standpoint in terms of soundness. The one that next best suits us stands in the middle. The young lady in the black will be reserving the division. Congratulations.
Your champion spring heifer calf comes from Class 201C. That is entry 1925, Lizzie Schaefer. Your reserve champion spring heifer calf comes from Class 201B. That is entry 1910 from Bella Mines. Coming into the ring at this time will be Class 202 of Percentage Simmental heifers, born January through February of 2022. We have entries 1926 from Cade Yardley, 1929 from Jason Diaz, entry 1970 from Morgan Jackson, entry 1932 from Claire Bishop, and entry 1938 from Addison Lehman. This is the only class within the division, so your first and seconds will become your champion and reserve champion junior heifer calves.
tremendous class of females, and on this top end, it comes down to skeletal reach. And as you watch the two females go, our class winner, when you watch her out of her knee and her front end, she just gets out and reaches further and more comfortably on her front end, has a bit more softness to her hind leg as she goes. Her shoulder blade's more appropriate. She's more appropriate at her knee as well. You know, she's a soft, middled female, and part of that softness comes from the fact that she's carrying some extra condition. She's plenty mature for Matt and I guess that's the advantage of the female that stands here in second is, boy, she's lean and she's fresh. But when you watch that female go, her shoulder blade tilts a hair further forward. You really see it in her knee as she steps out and reaches to go in her knee. She doesn't reach out and then she drives her hawk to the ground just a touch, but has a killer look to her. Extremely powerful female, and the leanness that she has today we really like. The one that's fairly complete and just not overwhelming is the one in third. And if you want to just talk completeness and solid cow, I think that's an appropriate description to this female. And you know, she actually has as much flex and give and reach as our class winner. Not as powerful through the lower part of her body compared to those two, not as wide up high in her hip. And then the young man's female is one that both these females we conclude with. We want to redesign on their hind leg. I think the young man's female balances up just a touch better, even though we want to stretch her out in terms of extension. That advantage goes to the female we conclude with. You watch her, she goes out, just rotates her hawk and gets upright in her pastern, but still big top, big hip, the extended female for the young man.
Your results from Class 202. In 5th place, entry 1929, Jason Diaz. 4th place, entry 1926, Cade Yardley. In 3rd place, entry 1932, Claire Bishop. In 2nd place, and your reserve champion junior heifer calf, entry 1970, Morgan Jackson. And your class winner and your champion junior heifer calf, entry 1938, Addison Lehman. In the ring at this time is Class 203A. This is percentage Simmental heifers born September through December of 2021. We have 3 entries: 1939 from Bristol Girds, entry 1940 from Morgan Jackson, and entry 1942 from Braden Buckwald.
Matt had a really good description of this female, and that's maternal power, and I think that's a really good description of a female. And she's one that kind of begins to put together some numerics with phenotype, and you love this female in terms of just rib shape and how open she is through her midsection. Her neck comes out of her shoulder really high. I think perhaps the best thing about her is how she gets out and travels. That one reaches and goes. Love the curvature and inflection to her knee. That one's pretty neat in terms of how she's designed. Taking nothing away from the young lady's female in terms of levelness of lines and balance and eye appeal. Hey, young lady, let's slow down. Slow down. There you go. So slow down on her show stick. You know, that female is sharp in terms of just her presence. She's level on her hip. When you read her relative to the amount of rib from top of her shoulder to her chest floor, back in her flank, there's simply not as much of her as our class winner, but love the balance, love the eye appeal of that female, and she's one that's just as fresh as any that this stage gets out and goes relatively well. One that we conclude with is a female in terms of just sheer muscle shape and expression. She may be the class leader in terms of just true shape. With that added shape, she stands on the outside of her skeleton. We want to just change her in terms of she wants to bow just a hair. She's super easy fleshing, and I think that's to her disadvantage at this point in terms of how it contributes to the openness in her chest floor, up the staleness at her tailhead.
Your results from Class 203A of percentage Simmental Heifers. In third place, entry 1942, Braden Buckwald. In second place, entry 1939, Bristol Girds. And your class winner, entry 1940, from Morgan Jackson. In the ring at this time will be Class 203B of Heifers born October of 2021. We have entries 1943, Paisley Schick. Entry 1944 from McKenna Richardson. 1947 from Bella Bynes, and entry 1948 from John Haven Stalvey.
You know, it gets really fun when you're out here and you're sorting cattle and you see them the same and your descriptions are similar. That's pretty cool. And the female that leads this class, you know, she's not the stoutest one of the bunch, but she's the maternal built one. And Matt had a great description. He said, I could lean her up just a little bit at the base of her shoulder and the base of her neck. But with that said, when you read her from a rib standpoint, in terms of just sheer depth of body, she has the advantage, and you couple that as she goes in terms of just maternal look, there's lots of things there. The female in the middle, you know, when God makes cattle and he makes them heavier muscled, sometimes they become rounder ribbed instead of deeper ribbed, and I think that's what happens here. She's actually the heavier muscled female of the pair, but with that said, like I said, she's rounder ribbed. You give up some of that depth that we see in our class winner, and you also, on this female, I'd lay her back in her knee just a touch. She wants to post and really just kind of lean forward just a hair, but boy, that is a big-ended, big top female, lots of quality and lots of power in that female. Next female kind of becomes a logical fit there from a balance standpoint. She's a little bit plainer headed, the scared female is here, a little bit deeper through the chest floor. She gets out and goes adequately. She breaks in her loin ever so slightly, just doesn't balance up with those females in front of her. The Cavanese option comes here, and she just, from a phenotypic standpoint, I think it fits. She's a bit flatter in her design, super, super attractive, really long-fronted, fresh-fronted female that you love the design in terms of look and balance. Want to give her more shape to her lower stifle, a bit more dimension from end to end. Really nice, high-quality female to conclude. That's a top to bottom. All four of those females are real usable in their kind.
Your results from Class 203B: in fourth place, entry 1948, John Stalvey. In third place, entry 1947, Bella Bynes. In second place, entry 1944, McKenna Richardson. And your class winner, entry 1943, Paisley Schick. In the ring at this time will be our class winners from 203A and 203B for your champion winter heifer calf selections.
great division of females, and it's fun when you get cattle and you can get this nitpicky on them, and really muscle shape divides the pair of cattle that win the class, and the young lady that wins the first class, that heifer has a bit more top shape right out of the back behind her scapula, and when you watch her travel away from you, watch her coming to you, she reads with a bit more true muscle shape and read. That advantage is going to allow her to win the division. So young lady in the black that wins the first class, congratulations, you're going to win this division. After that, you really have to keep the pair together because we love the maternal design, the look. The young lady that wins the second class, congratulations, you're going to be reserved. Young lady in the peach shirt sweater is going to be reserved.
So your champion winner heifer calf goes to entry 1940 from Morgan Jackson. Your reserve champion winter heifer calf is your class 203B winner, which is entry 1943 Paisley Schick. In the ring at this time will be class 205 percentage Simmental heifers born January through April of 2021. We have entries 1953 Hayden Schroeder, 1954 Tatum Dorsey, 1959 Jackie Schlechter, and entry 1960 Ellie Hurt.
incredibly powerful pair up here at the top, and Matt and I finally came down, and I said to him, I said, let's sort them as we'd buy them, and that's what we did. So the young lady's Blaze Face female is the one that wins the class, and from a maternal rib standpoint and just overall cow look, I think she fits us better. When you read that female, there's some things, places you want to poke on her. She's kind of like me. She needs to push away from the dinner table. She's got some chest to her, but I think that contributes also to the fact that she has some doability and some durability to her structure and just a real cow look to her. And yeah, the female behind her is stronger topped and bigger footed, but just the rib, the maternal look and design, we like that Baldy to win the class, and that softness that she has and gets out and goes with. I think you lean that female up, let her calve. She's going to be one that you like down the road, just a cool cow. And this one probably has a touch more presence, maybe not as long necked as the one that wins the class. She's stronger spine, bigger footed, and bigger bone, but she doesn't just have that real soft maternal look in terms of just midsection, in terms of utter drop to her at this point. We don't argue that pair very hard with anybody because that's two really high quality females. The female that's quite a bit more maternal in her design comes next. She's quite a bit flatter over the top of her hip, and you watch her and just read her from a bone and muscularity standpoint. She gives up quite a bit, really sound moving. She sets pretty far back in her heel, but still sound, and I like the maternal look to that female. Bigger structured, stouter built female we conclude with, one that gets quite a bit plainer on her hind leg. You just want to square that female up at the ground. I want to congratulate that young lady. That female's bred, showing us some udder. Good job on getting that female managed appropriately.
Your results from Class 205A: in fourth place, entry 1960, Ellie Hurt. In third place, entry 1954, Tatum Dorsey. In second place, entry 1959, Jackie Schlechter. And your class winner, entry 1953, Hayden Schroeder. At this time in the ring is Class 205B of heifers born January through February of 2021. We have two entries, 1961, Maggie Griswold, and entry 1964, Sean Yardley.
Pair of spring yearling females that you really have to appreciate both of these females in terms of just maternal design and look and build. We have one that has just a bit more flesh, a few more bells and whistles in terms of attractiveness and balance, and that's our class winner. Ever so slightly she wants to pigeon toe just a little bit on that front, but that's getting super critical on one that's beautiful from a build standpoint. Love the sweep and turned her rib cage, the balance. Extra long and extended female stands here in second. She's one that you might want to hook up just a little bit differently, bite behind her shoulder and in her forerib, but young man's done a nice job with a heavy bred female that's wide pinned and sure can get out and travel. Nice pair of cattle. Congratulations to the young people.
Your results from Class 205B: in second place, entry 1964, Sean Yardley. your class winner, entry 1961, Maggie Griswold. At this time, we will bring back our class winners from 205A and 205B to select your champion junior heifers.
Here we go. We're good. I just want to see how far you would come down. Let's put our hands together for the cow power that we have in this division. What a neat set of females, all the way, all four of the females out here. And Matt and I are, it's kind of fun when you just see them the same. And young lady's baldy out here, there's a bit more expanse to that female. Yes, she carries just a touch more condition, but you read that female from rib to rib at the outer side of her skeleton and just sheer mass. There's probably just a touch more to her. Young lady's black female that wins the second class. She's a bigger footed female, a little bigger substance in terms of bone. Not quite as pulled apart in her forerib, not quite as wide from rib to rib, but she's also leaner. So there's some trade-offs, and as Matt said, we're going to be consistent, and I agree with him. We're going to use the one that hit us the hardest. Young lady with the baldy, you're going to win the division. Congratulations to you. Young lady in the green shirt, you're going to be reserve division. Congratulations to you.
Your champion junior heifer comes from Class 205A, and that is entry 1953, Hayden Schroeder. And your reserve champion junior heifer is your Class 205B winner, and that is entry 1961, Maggie Griswold. At this time, we will bring back all of our division winners for your grand champion percentage heifer selections. Once again, in the ring at this time is your grand champion percentage heifer selection. We have your champion spring heifer calf, entry 1925 from Lizzie Schaefer. Champion junior heifer calf, entry 1938 from Addison Lehman. Your champion winter heifer calf, entry 1940 from Morgan Jackson. And your champion junior heifer, entry 1935 from Hayden Schroeder. Once again, our judges for today's contest have been Jeremy Viator from Lazy 3 out of Tomball, Texas, and Matt Skasta from Buck Cattle Company, where is the herdsman, and he's from Medill, Oklahoma. This duo from Oklahoma and Texas, which I still don't understand how they don't have a Red River rivalry going, but they have been judging on and off together for over 35 years.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible set of Simmental females we have here. You know, we were really impressed with the last division that we picked a grand and reserve in, and or the last show that we picked a grand and reserve in. You know, and the quality just is the same here. If you can't look at the maternal cow power that's in the Simmental business, you know, this is an incredible set of heifers. I want to give it off to you, Simmental breeders. And, you know, another thing that we talked about earlier, every junior that has came here, you can see it in their eye. They're glad to be here. But I want to challenge each and every one of you from the previous show to now to thank the good Lord for being here. And you go back to them barns and you tell each and every person that helped you get here, thank you. I know what it takes. Jeremy knows what it takes. I have an incredible crew at home. I've been out here for several days with my girlfriend, and my oldest son has been helping in the yards, and that's one thing that I wanted him to come and experience, because there's nothing better than that. And he's 15 years old. I made him make a lot of decisions on his own this week. He got his own plane ticket. He put his own deal together. But to me, that was pride for being in the agriculture business and wanting to come to Denver and do what he does. With that, put your hands together. I'm going to tell one quick story. I was 15 years old. I left Houston, Texas, with a hanging bag and a clipper box. I came out here. My first real job, just like mine, oldest son. I came out here to clip a steer for this lady right here. I want to thank you for helping me succeed in this business and to have a backbone and focus and direction in the ag, in the fellowship and my friends, and to be the person I can be. And there's one more man in here that started me off when I was 10, 11 years old. and that's Mr. Billy Rash sitting right up there. Those of you that don't know him, he's a veteran, he's a legend. I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. Thank you. And I know my mom and dad is watching. She knows our history. I bet she's already texted Jeremy 10 times because I wouldn't answer. But I appreciate everybody involved. Thanks to National Western Simmental Association. Thank you.
I'm not one that's usually at a loss for words. Two things. This is a people business. Never forget it. We need each other now more than ever before. You young people that are out here, you have an opportunity to go forward and be a voice for agriculture. And I talk about this at every show I judge because I believe it's the reason that God gives me the opportunity to judge shows is because I can stand here and I can challenge each and every one of you that stand ringside, whether you're 50, 60, 70, or 15, or 12. You have to become a voice for agriculture. You have to be willing to stand up, and when you're out in the Denver Metroplex or you're at home at a UIL event or whatever school event you're at, and if you happen to sit next to me on an airplane and you're a vegetarian, we're probably going to have that conversation. Yes, Jakey, we're going to have it, so it's up to you to do the same. If we don't tell our story that we are conservationists and stewards of the land and we do the right thing by our livestock and our land, somebody else is going to tell that story. This state has experienced that other side of the story, and it was painful. They got through it, but I tell you what, if we don't tell that story, it's coming, and the next generation's not going to be able to show livestock here at the National Western. So that's my challenge to each and every one of you here is tell our agriculture story. Last thing I'm going to say, I think I can get through it. Hey, buddy, look at me. I'm proud of you. As a friend and as a dad, I'm proud of you.
Your grand champion percentage heifer is your champion winter heifer calf, and that is entry 1940 Morgan Jackson. Rolling into consideration will be the reserve champion winter heifer calf of 1943 from Paisley Sheck. Your reserve champion percentage heifer is also your champion junior heifer, and that is entry 1935 from Hayden Schroeder. This concludes our junior Simmental shows, purebred and percentage. Want to make sure we give thanks to our CSA Board of Directors, Jolyn Midcap, our Director, Susan Russell, and the ASA Directors that are here at the National Western, Luke Bowman, Mia Beyer, Chance Uzadowski, Susan Russell, and our junior Simmental